This is the Hunt Quietly podcast. I'm Matt Ranella.
Record 1 day amount.
Oh.
Not that a record 1 day amount rains you out, but my point is like an inch and a half is a lot of rain there.
Yeah. I bet we got an inch and a half I bet I got an inch and a half at my house. It was it's so sideways that it's probably difficult to measure.
I don't know if you saw it. That hail north of Billings was unbelievable.
Oh, no, I didn't.
Yeah, they had there were 1.5 foot drifts north of Billings and Shepherd. And there's pictures of the garages, and the trees look like it's November. And the garages, the siding was ripped off of garages and houses, and there were anywhere from softball down to pea size, but the roads look like they were snow plowing them.
Whoa! How big was it? It was
anywhere, but there were softball size all the way down to pea size. Yeah, I mean it was crazy. There was holes in solar panels and all sorts of stuff. So anyway, not that the hoax that we're living in allows us to talk about crazy weather, because apparently that does not happen. But yeah.
I guess the question is whether it's happening at a rate that would be different if humans had gone extinct a while ago.
Like, what do you mean by a while ago?
What? Pre-industrial revolution?
So 1825, 1830?
Yeah. I was trying to operationalize it a little bit.
Well, it's one of the things my kids were in that held climate case, and one of the ancillary benefits of that was being in close proximity to the most accomplished climate scientists in the world, all of whom flew there on their own dime to testify with no compensation.
Where was this?
And it was at the held versus Montana climate case about a year and a half ago. Both my boys were litigants in that.
Was there a bunch of youngsters that were involved?
16. Yeah, 16. But to speak to those climate scientists, the answer to your question is humans absolutely are influencing this.
Yeah, I tend to think so. I mean, I have a lot
of... Well, they would say, you don't tend to think so. Like, the science and the data is overwhelming. I wrote a Substack about this. Steve Running, the guy who won the Nobel Prize from the University of Montana, won it in 2007, I think, developed a system to monitor plant growth from space and the CO2 that's given off by plant growth. They use 2 satellites to do that. And once he did that, he lays up the spikes in CO2 as measured from plant growth on graphs year by year. And you see the same annual spike, but the same annual spike each year is on this graph that's on a straight upward trajectory, like you're hiking up a mountain to elk hunt. And it's CO2 parts per million that are doing it.
Yeah. I guess I'm just kind of talking I just have some epistemic humility in general because it's my job, the hypothetical deductive method is such that the scientific method is such that, there's a lot of philosophers of science who would say you never prove something absolutely without
true.
Gravity based on empirical data. There's just I guess a more interesting point about all this is that so just to be clear, I believe that human caused emissions and cattle caused emissions, etc., are having impacts on the climate. But there's another level of belief that I don't think very many people have. I don't know how it's there's another level of belief which is where you do something about it. And
True.
and the even the most zealous climate activist people I know don't do anything about it.
Well, so I mean,
my wife claims to care, and she just insisted that we go to Kenya.
Well, I mean, and here I sit, like, and you're right about that. I'd say two things about that, though. Like, you're both right about that, and also, if you're handed a system in which you must live, that you have no choice, what choice do you have except for to try to change the larger system? Like, I mean, I see you're sitting in your house there, probably at some point climate controlled during the season
my
in
air
eastern
conditioner is
Montana.
on as we speak.
Right, and your heater will soon be on. So, and I drive a truck, and so do you. And I don't put llamas in mine, but you do. But the point is, we burn fossil fuels, and yet we both believe this. Do we believe it enough to do something about it? I think we can believe it enough to do something about the system we're handed. And I don't know that we'll ever. I am not one who believes we'll ever science our way out of this. Like, well, we're just gonna drive on anti-gravity cars and fly planes that are powered by hydrogen. Right.
Okay. So you think it's tough choices that are going to get us out of it, not science?
Oh, I think tough choices are coming our way. I think we're already facing them. Like, people who can't afford their home insurance in Florida and California because of climate-driven home insurance increases, they're having to make tough choices. Like, this is not going to befall us. Like, one day you're going to wake up like, well, I either live like a caveman today or I don't believe in climate change. Like, that's not the way it's going to happen. It's going to happen like everything else in our lives. Like, things will become more expensive. Things will become prohibitive. You won't be able to buy this thing or that thing, or you won't be able to travel in this way, or insurance companies will no longer cover entire states. There's already many insurance companies that are backing out of like, I live in a house here in Western Montana that's surrounded by trees. A lot of insurance companies are backing out of covering any home that's surrounded by trees because of the increased prevalence of, wildfire. That's the way this is going to make us choose.
Oh, okay. That's an interesting way of. Okay, so basically, is it correct to say that climate change is going to do to us what it's going to do? In which case, what's the point in even talking about it?
Climate change is going to do to us what we have influence over it. Like, do you want to slow down the rate of that stuff, or do you want to speed it? And I think, humans live in short. Climate change is happening, although in a very rapid form in geological terms, in a long term compared to a human life. And we're programmed, as you know, like, you and I do the same stuff. Like, when you're cold in a tent, you are programmed to find warmth and comfort. Like, and you're programmed to find that for your family and for all the critters that you're with. And whether it's warmth and comfort or cool and comfort or water or whatever, like, you almost can't unprogram yourself to do that. So there you are sitting in an air conditioned house. Like, that, you didn't just decide to be in an air conditioned house. Like, you got a million years of evolutionary programming that is like making you seek that out.
Yeah. Yeah. So you think we could avoid some of the worst of it still? But we have a collective action problem, right?
Oh yeah.
Unless we
all
do something, or
it's
a large number,
It's not completely dissimilar from some of the stuff that we're probably going to talk about tonight, like wildlife science, like self-restraint, things that are basically collective action things that humans have a hard time embracing. Right? We talk about them, but we got a hard time embracing them.
All right. You got me interested now in what you think about this issue. So, like, what do you think needs to happen
With regards to what? Climate
change? Yeah.
Oh, I think we need to. First off, we should be realistic about the short-term needs, instinctual needs of all humans, like we just talked about. Like, I don't want you nuked out of your house, and I don't want Juan, your wife, um, to die of exposure in Western Montana in the winter. So we have to be conscious of what we need in the short term, which means we still need energy. But if we know that this thing we're doing is exacerbating harms that we care about, then we should be putting the hammer down on the technologies that allow us a chance to get out of it. Can we get out of it?
So
Can we
I
get
thought
out
you
of
were
it in time?
saying that you didn't think we were going to get out of it through technology.
No, I think we have to do that, and at the same time, we're going to do things that just over time are going to change the way we live. You're going to fly less. You're going to like the things that are most destructive. You're going to fly. Why? Because they're going to cost more. Like,
Hmm.
you know, you're going to build smaller houses because insurance is going to cost more. Like we're already doing it, but those hard choices will be hoisted upon us by a capitalist economy. That's one thing that a capitalist economy can do, and that is distribute pain and choices. Like it does that quite well. You know, when you run out of wheat, bread gets more expensive. When you run out of chickens, eggs get more expensive, and you use less of them. You know, that's what happens.
So climate change is going to force us to emit less carbon.
Yeah, it's already trying to do it. We're resisting, but it's already trying to do it. And insurance markets are a good example.
Yeah,
I think so. That combined with like if we didn't subsidize fossil fuels like we do, there's a lot of places where the cheapest form of energy now is renewable, the cheapest form of producing it. But we're still we're still in a old subsidization sort of mindset where we're influencing the outcome of the market. But wind and solar are more economically feasible now in many cases.
Have you been around many wind farms?
Yeah, I don't like them.
Yeah, I don't either. There's one north of town here. It's like I don't have strong opinions about this stuff, man. I'm just like I like to think about it, but I I don't know what the right approach is. I don't know, but I do not like driving through them.
It's freaking
It makes
spooky,
me
man.
sad, like seeing
It's spooky.
antelope standing under one of those things, or
dude, it's like you're in the Blade Runner or something, you know? I mean, it's like a weird deal. That being said, have you ever driven through the Pinedale anticline with a bajillion gas wells and oil wells?
That's worse.
Right? So, like, we got choices. That's my point. Like, the choices aren't perfect, they're just choices.
Yeah. You know, and there's like you could kind of see sometimes I feel like you can change your mindset and be okay with stuff like wind farms. Just like yeah, we have it. There's also fences out there. We've had all kinds of impacts, you know, and it's just,
yeah, you read Charlie Russell, right? The time before the fences, like the fences were an unbelievable intrusion on the prairie, and you know we deal with them now. You and I, like, I was cutting wood up today. I wore a pair of my pants that I bird hunt in, and they're all cut up around the crotch. Why? Because I've climbed over like 9,000 barbed wire fences in them.
Have you heard much about? Have you been following what's going on with virtual fencing?
I have.
Oh,
yeah. I grew up on a ranch, and this idea of putting basically fancy dog collars on your cattle.
Yeah. You know, the lab I work at, over the years, we had people come that work on that and give talks, and I was always eye rolly about it. But
I think it's going to happen now.
But I was just talking to this guy in North Dakota that he works for NRCS, and he said it's actually works pretty well. He said there's several producers over there that have an external fence but no longer have any internal fences.
Yeah. No, I've talked to people who are now using it and believe that it's the future. And it's great. Like I'm good with that. Like there's a way that, makes things a little better. I kind of like I grew up on the prairie, and like the idea of making grazing too efficient like I fear a little bit what that does for wildlife.
Oh, what do you mean? What's too efficient?
Oh, I see what, like in the Flint Hills of Kansas. I grew up in northwestern Kansas, but in the Flint Hills of Kansas, which is central Kansas, which used to be it's a really gorgeous ecosystem, big rolling high hills, prairie, but it's become they intensively rotationally graze it. They burn it every single year. Like, it's really good for cattle. And what was great quail country and great deer country and great like prairie chicken country has kind of become like a monoculture.
There's no shrubs anymore.
There's no more because it's just so efficient.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, inefficiency is kind of it is sort of what wildlife thrives on, really. Our inefficiency, right?
It's an interesting use of the word efficient.
Yeah.
Well, you mean, like, by efficient, you mean the ability of the land to turn grass or like maybe something like pounds of beef raised per acre.
Right. Efficient in this case means one particular measure. To me, efficient is multifaceted, right? I think about, like, our prairie used to be very efficient. It produced how many freaking bajillion tons of bison and meadowlarks and prairie chicken and antelope and mule deer and elk and. But now we're becoming a species that focuses efficiency on one particular outcome, whatever that is. Whether, if you're growing wheat, it's wheat. If you're growing cattle, it's cattle. Like, it's one thing. We've lost kind of the nuance, the appreciation of nuance in how we talk about efficiency.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, we're trying to optimize one thing.
Yep.
Yeah, I just had this guy in from the South Dakota Antelope Foundation, and there's a lot of antelope groups that have developed in recent years.
Who is that you had in there?
Oh, man. That's so embarrassing.
You sure one from North Dakota?
No, there's one there too. This group just started within the last year.
Wasn't Brock, was it?
Nope.
Yeah.
But anyway, he was talking about, like, mainly what they do is remove sheep fence. And
I mean, okay.
That's a reason why I should not be a podcaster, because my ability to remember people's names is too shitty.
Yeah. Well, okay.
You're not supposed
removing
to agree.
fences
You're
is
not supposed
fine,
to agree.
But antelope are going to survive based on broad ecosystem survival or impact, whether we have sagebrush steppe or not.
I agree. Like, probably having the plants right is more important than not having sheep fence.
Well, having sagebrush steppe from central Alberta to central Texas is going to dictate whether we have antelope or not, since they've been here for basically 250,000 years. One of the few species to survive multiple ice ages. It's because we have broad sagebrush steppe ecosystems.
They do pretty good on alfalfa fields.
Yeah, but they can't survive only on that. It's good. Yeah, true. Like, what doesn't?
Yeah. So when I was thinking about interviewing you, the one question I wanted to ask you, and I've wanted to ask you this for a long time, is, and this is probably the only challenging question I'll ask you, is help me understand. And I was talking to Juanita, my wife, and your good friend, about this too. What was your decision-making calculus like when you write a polemic about the firearm industry and then think that might get elected governor of Montana? Those things seem incommensurate. Like, that's what I wanted to ask you about.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I was just working on a Substack on this kind of topic. I think, I'm still very pro-gun. Um, I hunt and shoot probably, well, not as much as anybody in the state, but way more than the average. I don't know how many guns I own, and that pisses my wife Sarah off because she's like, "You should know exactly how many of it." I don't.
You should have an inventory, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how many it is, but it's a lot. And I hope to have more. Um, and like I tell a lot of people, I'm not anti-gun, but I am anti-asshole. And I don't think that my upbringing and my outlook on guns is really much different than the average Montanan, which is I appreciate them. I want to own them. Many of the best days of my life have been spent with them. And I believe that responsible behavior is incumbent on us, on all of us gun owners. And I don't think it's wrong to stand up and decry irresponsible behavior. Um, I don't think any of those things are in any way contradictory to what the average Montanan believes. And
Yeah.
so,
the problem you run into is that people, it's just, and you had to know that this was going to be an issue. Ryan Busse say bad thing about gun, no vote, right? And that your political opponents would make hay with it. And whereas I think if I was in your shoes, I would have done the same thing because I'm too idealistic to make pragmatic choices. I'm going to say what I really think, no matter what.
I think the world, the political world is changing, Matt. And I think, there was a time when maybe this question you're asking me, and I don't think I lost, the election because of the question you're asking me. I think I lost because it was a really, I'll try to give you the truest answer I can because like you, I respect people who speak the truth, and I want to believe that I'm one of those. I really don't. Like a lot of times, it'd probably be better for me if I had a filter, more of a filter than I do, but I really don't have. So I lost the election because it was a shitty year to run as a Democrat, and the National Democratic Party has a really shitty brand reputation in the state of Montana, or certainly did at the time that I ran. And if you don't believe that, a three-term U.S. senator, and three-term U.S. senators in mathematical terms never lose friggin' elections, especially not when they're a pretty good politician and a guy like Tester who's done pretty good things for the state, yet he lost by 9.5 points. So there's your proof that it's a bad year for Democrats. So I didn't lose because there are a few people that didn't appreciate what I said about irresponsibility and guns. In fact, I think most of them believe in that.
What percent of the vote did you get?
39, I think. I don't remember. I really don't.
And maybe it would have been 42 if you hadn't written the book.
I think it's less than. I think there's less of a difference in that. Okay. Yeah. I also picked like the mathematically most difficult thing to do in U.S. politics is to beat an incumbent governor. It's harder than beating a senator.
Yeah.
It's harder than beating a representative. It's hard. The hardest thing to do in U.S. politics is beating an incumbent governor. And I picked that race because I think our governor is doing disastrous things to our state. And I believe that I need to stand up. So we ran a hard race. We ran a race that I'm proud of. We held 187 events. We drove almost 210,000 miles, added to the CO2 footprint. Right. So I didn't do anything that I'm embarrassed about. And, I didn't get as much hunting in and fishing in with my kids as I wanted to while I was doing that. That's the only thing I'm really, really sorry about. But I didn't lose because people were upset about gun stuff. I lost because of National Democrat branding things. Now, I firmly believe that the wind is changing. I think if over here in the Western District, I know you're in the Eastern District, but I think if Zinke were forced to run in like a European style snap election today, I think he'd lose in Montana 1, the Western District. I think people are like, we had 2,000 people in Kalispell, Montana, one of the reddest parts of the state, on Saturday protesting this shit. We had 4,000 people, 5,000 people in Missoula. We had 5,000 people in Bozeman. Like, that shit is real. People are upset.
The protests were the No Kings protests, right? We had 130 people here in Miles City, which would be probably every soul that's left of center in the whole county.
But here I'm seeing it's not just people who are left of center. Like, these folks are, I mean, I've ran into several Trump voters who are going to these things like, holy shit, I didn't think he was going to do this. I didn't think he was going to fire VA doctors and threaten my uncle. I didn't think he was going to fire my sister that works at the Forest Service. Jesus. Like my point here is that real things are happening. It's not just political rhetoric anymore. Like, disastrous things are being implemented in policy, and they're going to have bad impacts on people. And there's going to be a repercussion for that, and it's going to be political. And so this sort of emotional, angry branding war that I fought in and lost might have a very different outcome in 2026 and 2028.
Yeah. It's just so hard to say.
We don't know. Like,
right.
I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just telling you it feels way different to me already than it did.
Okay. I guess so conservation and hunting go hand in hand, for obvious.
They should. They don't really, but they should.
Okay. Even if you don't believe it's true, right? Like,
okay, yes.
What do you think? Being that this is kind of a hunting podcast, I'll talk about anything under the sun.
Yeah.
It's just kind of there's a lot of hunting talk on here. So, how would you differentiate yourself from Gianforte, and like, where do you think he's bad for the workaday? I think grassroots hunting community.
Yeah, that's a broad question, but it's one of my main political drivers, main drivers in my life. I believe in public lands and public wildlife in the most granular sense, and I know it's easy to say these things, but I believe that people like Gianforte, and I don't just have to believe this, I judge him by his actions, will do anything to increase the commercial benefit that is derived from wildlife and hunting. He will give wealthy people more advantages on tags. He's done it many times. He will give commercialized interest advantage on access. He's done it many times. He will resist penalties for things like blocking public access and public roads. He's vetoed bill. The Wildlife Commission now is essentially a 100% commercialized interest. There are no more biologists on there. There are no more public land hunters on there. They're all commercial interests. So this is strictly a money-making exercise to him. And money-making exercises favor the wealthy. This state, places like where I grew up and this state, are the beauty of them, the egalitarian beauty of what we have, where a scientist in eastern Montana or a kid with a pair of Chuck Taylors stepping onto a river east of Missoula, or a poor kid in Kalispell who gets to go hunting on public land 4 miles outside of town. Like those sort of egalitarian experiments do not exist in the world very frequently anymore, and yet we still have it here. And so I've taken, I think, 13 bull elk in the state of Montana, and I think all but one have been on public land. I might be off by one, but like I bird hunt 60, 65 days a year, almost all on public land. And when I'm not on public land, I'm on publicly accessible land because I'm hunting block management. Like this is not a wealth thing for me. This is not an exclusionary thing for me. Like this is a American freedom thing for me. And I think anybody that degrades it, restricts it, inserts the need to make money from it, endangers this very special thing that we have.
Good. So he was at the Helena Block Management Appreciation Dinner this year. I don't know if you knew that. And he, I saw a clip of him on Instagram, somewhere on social media, where he was extolling the virtues of block management. So do you think that's political theater, or?
I do. I mean, okay. I think, look, I believe in block management, but the policies that he's instituted have done nothing to broaden the appeal and acreage of block management. I'm all for increasing the benefits to landowners who participate, which Gianforte has propagated. That's good.
What about this $3 million, for raising the base hunting license cost?
So I think that we should do what we can to increase the funding, and like you can't keep prices the same when inflation's going up. You can't keep the prices on licenses the same. We should increase all that, but we should be trying to increase access. And Gianforte has done everything in his power to decrease access. I mean, he talks a good game about block management, but when it comes to Habitat Montana, or not just increasing the fees that are provided to providers, to landowners, which I'm for, but we need just put block management acreage on a graph, man. Like the last 10 years, like it's going the wrong way.
Right. It was 7 point something, and now it's, I think, 6.9 million.
Right. So it's going the wrong way. Meanwhile, as he inserts more and more policy objectives to increase the commercial revenue and benefit from hunting, you're going to have more and more landowners who say, no, I'll lease. No, I'll do this. Like they're going to pull out of block management, and the access is going to decrease. That's what his gig is. Like if he could have like a bunch of people run around making money from every pheasant and sharptail and hun and whitetail and antelope and everything else, if you could charge like, oh, that one's worth $38, like he'd do it in a heartbeat. Like that's what he's all about.
Okay. So at a broad level, like I'm not a fan of using hunting as a revenue generator. I guess like it's kind of
it shouldn't be a revenue generator, but if it is to be, if you were to use hunting to sustain access programs, I'm fine with that.
Oh yeah,
I'm good with that.
Yeah. Yes, I agree. I guess there's got to be some balance. Like, I'd be curious to hear what concrete things you would have tried to achieve if elected in that. Like, if I was elected, I would attempt to, if I was king of Montana, I would try to make outfitting on private land illegal. Like, that's a concrete step I would take. I don't have a problem with outfitting on public land. It's not like those folks are preventing me from going there, But when I look at all the public money that farms and ranches get in the United States.
And
I think
then
this
lock people out, of being able to access public wildlife. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, where would you come down? Like, what would you?
Well,
what would you?
I don't think I hear where you're coming from on that. I think that there is still a really rich culture of, I don't think, like, we in Oklahoma yet, right? We're not Ohio. We're not, there's still this culture of allowing people to hunt. Um, I think what I would do is roll back every place I could that Gianforte has instituted, and that the previous governors have allowed to happen, where we have provided economic advantage to outfitters and public landowners to profit off of private wildlife. Um, I'm not against I'm not against outfitters. I don't think I would go as far as you would. I would say that this idea that all outfitters are the same, that's crazy talk. Like, these people that, like, some of the hardest working, coolest folks I know are folks that outfit on big tracts of public land. Like, that is not an old man's game, you know? I mean, it's hard work, and they provide a valuable service, and
Yeah,
I'm
I have no problem with that. Like,
I'm appreciative of that. But this profiting, locking up a public resource, essentially, not quite fencing it off, but, like, you know, doing what you can to hold the herd of elk on your ranch and then charging to go shoot the herd of elk. Um, we need to be um, not increasingly encouraging that. And Gianforte, through his Bowls for Billionaires programs, which essentially gives these billionaires who buy big ranches and want to either sell the tags or give them to their friends, special tags, bullshit. Bullshit. Like, nothing could be more anti-Montana, anti-egalitarian than that. Like, it makes my blood boil. So everywhere that I could roll that stuff back or restrict it, I would. Do you ever have this feeling? I mean, I hate to say this because it sounds like you're like an old timer talking about the good old days, but for the first time ever in the last couple days, Matt, or in the last couple years, I have felt like, oh my God, I really have lived in the best Montana will ever see, and it's going away.
Mm-hmm.
It's going away.
Yeah.
It's a sad feeling, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. In terms of, in the context of my own value system, there's never been a period where I saw my experiences getting better.
Mine did, but maybe it was because I was naive, or because I was exploring, or because I didn't know any better. I just hadn't tapped into all of the plenty that was around me. But I really have felt the constriction in the last couple of years. I really have. Places that I used to hunt are shut down.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, places that I used to hunt have been purchased or shut down or leased. Public access has been restricted. I just really feel, and I have two boys, 20 and 17. They're both hunting fiends and fishing nuts. And I look at them and think about the experience I had when I was 20 something in Montana, and what they're going to have when they're 20 something in Montana. And I'm like, man, I'm worried. I'm really worried.
Yeah. I think if I had kids now, God forbid, I wouldn't.
Day ain't over.
I would I would hope that they chose something else. Like, I don't think that you have to be an outdoorsman or woman to have a fulfilled life, and I would
maybe
I'd
not,
be
but
nervous
I don't
enough
know
about them getting into hunting. I'd be
different.
hoping that they choose pickleball or soccer or golf, because those activities seem like they'll be available. Whereas hunting,
I guess I don't. I'm not there with you. I I can't conceive of having a fulfilled life and not doing this stuff that we do. I literally, it's a foreign concept to me.
Yeah, but you gotta imagine if it wasn't available to you, you would have sought out something else.
Well, dude, I don't want to live in fucking Ohio or, suburban Pennsylvania. Or I'm here because I want to do these things and live this way, and that's what my boys want to do. Um, yeah, okay. I
Yeah,
could
maybe
live
there
in,
are some people that can only be happy through hunting
I mean, hunting,
or
fishing,
fishing,
outdoor activities.
hiking. Yeah.
Being like, like I will never be fulfilled or happy if I'm not doing those things. And I don't think my boys will be.
I could
Well,
be. See, I guess that's just yeah, so it's interesting. That's a clear-cut difference because I could be happy metal detecting, I think. If that was my weekend pursuit, how I used my spare time was looking for treasure.
so where are you going to metal detect? On your half-acre lot?
No, I'm just saying if I didn't hunt and fish, I think
I hear you, but like, isn't it all kind of, my point is, isn't it all kind of tied together? Like I grew up, I love to find artifacts, Native American artifacts, arrowheads, spear points. My dad found one of the most significant mammoth butchering caches in the history of
really?
North America. Yeah, on our ranch.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
Huge blades, like blades that are like as big as your leg, that butchered mammoth, and he found them all in one big cache. And so this set off this immense curiosity in me and my family and my brother and my sister. Um, but I think of, where am I going to do that? Like on Bill Gates' ranch or on the Koch brothers ranch?
Mm-hmm.
Or like we need places to do these things.
Yeah. One thing I think is, the more people that do the sorts of things we do in a given area, the less enjoyable it is. So,
Yeah.
um,
And that's what you've tapped into. And I want to give you some street cred. I want to give you some pats on the back. I know you're not doing the podcast, get pats on the back, but it's hard to speak uncomfortable truths to people. It's hard. Um, I know because I've done it, and you've done it, and I don't ask me to like elaborate on the ways in which we disagree because I don't remember what all they are. I'll say that you and I probably, I know we don't agree on everything, but the degree to which you have enumerated sort of obvious truths about essentially loving this thing and commercializing this thing to death is brave and right and needs to be said and needs to be appreciated. So I thank you for doing it.
well, thanks. Where I was going with that is if you take the people need to commune with nature on a regular basis in order to have a fulfilled life thing too far, there will be no nature to commune with. I mean,
True.
I'd say the majority of people in this country, this is a guess, but I feel somewhat confident with it, the guess, live their entire life never outside of sight of a building. And it's hard for me to think that all of those people are living unfulfilled lives.
I'd say you're correct. Um, and I think humans do possess the ability to adjust their expectation of fulfillment quite rapidly. Um, like I've noticed this in jobs. People can move job to job and just like, well, whatever, I just go here and these are the realities I got to deal with, and I settle in, I make the best of it, and I have a good attitude, and you can do that. But is that the existence you want to live? And like once you know what I just like I feel like this life that we live where I mean we're eating elk tonight because that's what we eat. Elk and birds that we harvest. Like I don't buy beef. Um even though I grew up on a cattle ranch, like we don't eat beef. We eat elk and birds. That's what we harvested. Mushrooms that we harvest, huckleberries that we pick. Like once you've sort of woven yourself in to the ecosystem like that and have an appreciation for what you do and why you do it, it's tough to see better existence than that.
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe if everybody was exposed to that kind of lifestyle, everybody would want that lifestyle. But then I think I have friends in this town, lots of them, that they did a little hunting back in the day. Maybe they still do, but they're way more into following their kids around every weekend to sporting events. And that is much more meaningful to them, even though they've tasted the outdoor lifestyle. So what do you do with that?
I don't judge that. That's fine.
I don't judge it either. I'm trying to toy with this notion that people have to be plugged into hunting and fishing to be happy.
Because by the way, I have chased my kids around playing hockey, and I'm here in Kalispell. I think it's 641 miles from here to about your front door, close to your front door, because I've driven Kalispell to Miles City many times, and some of it was for hockey games. And good fucking God, man, who thought it was okay to have kids hockey games where Kalispell teams travel to Miles City? That is insanity. Insanity. And I've done it multiple times and had a good time doing it with all the parents that I was with. So I get it, but it's still not like connecting in wild places, hunting cool critters, man. It just isn't.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the reason this is an interesting, important thing to think about, and from my perspective, is because I hate hunting promotion. And the reason I hate it is because because I think to myself, there's a milieu, an infinite number of ways to construct a happy, fulfilled life. So why would we, as a society or a community of hunters and anglers, try to direct people towards this mode of living that is degraded by more people coming in? Like,
Yeah.
So if it's the case that the alternative is you either discover the sporting life or you don't enjoy life as much as everybody else, then I should just shut up, I guess.
Well, I do think so. You've been wrestling with this idea of essentially loving it to death and an industry that is built on the idea of finding solace and solitude and isolated activity and the reality of ruining that, right, through commercial promotion. Um, and I think it's all in the quantity. That the truth is when you had excessive access, excessive acreage, more than we needed, and fewer hunters than could fill it all up. Okay, whatever. It's a good idea to or whatever. It's relatively not harmful to promote these things and to build a few businesses. But as with all things, taken too far, and we're probably too far, that's ruining what we love. There's not a single place I go. I'm going to fish tomorrow with my boys. Um, and I will be fighting the idea of getting there first, making sure that nobody is there, making sure that some dumb shit didn't download some app that told them how to get to some trailhead, that told them where to be on what date and to check what river flow and to I'll be fighting to get there before they are so that we fish this magic place, which I love, and not have to deal with that shit. There isn't a single, well, I won't say this, many of my bird hunting places, I don't have to deal with this because nobody's as crazy as I am bird hunting the places I go. But that's only for today. Next year, there might be some people crazy as me. There might be some people that'll take their dogs 20 miles or drive to the places or hike to the places that I go. There might be, because why?
Yeah.
They're going to download some goddamn app to tell them where to go. And then there's going to be somebody that writes about it. And then there's going to be somebody that profits from it. And then there's going to be somebody that builds the gear, that tells them, that builds in the maps and the apps and the backpacks and the everything else and gets them there. Like, it's just, I get the battle you're fighting, man.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and that's just half of it. The other half is going back to commercializing wildlife. I don't think that would have happened to nearly the leasing and the buying of exclusive hunting property and all that stuff would have happened without hunting media.
Definitely not. Definitely not. I mean, 100% not. I was in the middle of the industry, right? For those people, for those listeners who don't know, I spent 25 years in the firearms industry. I know almost all of the big media players. I watched them come up from nothing. I watched them get rich. I watched them build empires and companies and profit off of wildlife and do things that I now oftentimes find disgusting. We've read about them doing illegal things like the commercial pressures. Once you've decided that the dollar will be your driver, are pretty immense, and we've seen it do some very disastrous things. And I have zero doubt that Montana would be half as pressured as it is without hunting media. Zero doubt.
Yeah, advertising drives demand, and demand drives price, right?
Yep, zero doubt.
Yeah. So enough about my pet topics. I was trying to avoid.
No, dude, I'm with you. Like it's not an it's not an unimportant thing.
Yeah, I think in hunting it is the thing. I mean, I don't know. I just, because if you care about like what you care about and what I care about, high quality, publicly accessible, non-pay hunting, then the advertising, the incessant advertising of is a threat to that, I think.
Yeah. Huge threat. Huge threat.
So what are you doing now? Oh, you told me. I want to talk about a couple things. Yeah, one thing you're doing now, I know, is this web or account, Instagram account you just, or is it a Facebook?
Well, so are you talking about Public Land Warriors?
Yes. Tell me about that.
So that's one of the things I'm doing. I decided after the election, like I was going to look at reality square in the eye, and I was going to attack it. And I think one of the things that Trumpism has done to this country it's sort of stripped the nuance of our politics down to the studs, right? It's and I believe now that the battles we are facing on public lands, and we're speaking now as the Senate is proposing in this big beautiful bill, which I can barely say, but selling up to 330 million acres of our public lands, half of our public lands in the United States.
Oh, I thought it was 3 million.
No, 330 million. 330 million.
Oh, I thought that they had 330 million to choose from, of which they're going to take 3 million. That's not right.
They're going to deem 330 million eligible for sale, and then they're going to start with the 3 million. Yeah.
Okay.
But
so you're reading between the lines and thinking they're going to go.
Dude, I'm not reading between the lines. I am reading the fucking lines. Like, it's $330 million is eligible for sale. And the reason that happened is because there are Republicans who believe there are no ramifications for doing this. And I am done with that shit. And so I started with my friend Brandon Hall, started Public Lands Warriors, and we don't have a big staff. We don't have recruitment. We don't have symposiums or rendezvous or lobbying, or we don't fly people around and we don't recruit new hunters. We raise money and we spend it on the issue with the aim to influence people to vote the right way or defeat them if they don't, period. I think that all of the policy issues that we now face are now, they're no, that, like this old polite policy world of like 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago is like where people are like, well, the parties are the same and people get elected and then we try to get them to 49 or 51, because like they're the same and like policies are about bullshit. Republicans now understand this is a zero sum, 0-100 game. Policy is decided on a Tuesday in November. You either fight to win that day or you lose that day. That's what's going on with this public lands thing. Mike Lee and Steve Daines believe that they're invincible and they're going to sell your public lands.
Well,
I say bullshit. We're going
it's not
after
all Republicans, right? I mean,
almost all.
Well, Ryan Zinke wasn't he the one that just
Ryan Zinke helped strip public land sales out of the House version, and then voted for the most horrific conservation and environmental bill in the nation's history. It gives the boundary waters to a mining company. It allows huge industrial projects to fly through without any review, even if they rototill sagebrush, kill sage grouse, mow down antelope. All they have to do is pay the government 125% of the NEPA review, and then there can be no lawsuit, no challenge, no protest, nothing. They get it done. They can buy their way out of it. These companies that Ryan Zinke made almost $1 million a year lobbying for a gold mining company and for ConocoPhillips. He's just doing that again now.
Okay.
So whether it's actual sale or whether we hand it to industrial companies while we still own it, come on, it's still sellout.
Mm-hmm.
And that big beautiful bill is, bar none, and it's not just me saying this, there are many reviews, the worst conservation and environmental legislation in the nation's history, period. And Zinke voted for it.
Okay.
He voted for it.
So was that just political calculus, like a sleight of hand, or?
Well, I think that they believe that getting everybody ginned up on social issues and worrying about what's going on in LA and what gender everybody is, they can distract with that while they're taking our public lands, commercializing our wildlife, making the wealth gap bigger, gutting healthcare for working people in this country. That bill is a way to essentially exacerbate this idea that wealthy people run the country and working people have no power. It's the biggest wealth transfer in any legislation in the history of the country. Not only is the worst conservation legislation, it's the biggest wealth transfer ever in the history of the country. The average billionaire will get a $389,000 tax break, and the average working person in the lowest quintile of our population will get a $1,000 tax increase.
Yeah, that's pretty wild to think about.
Meanwhile, these goddamn billionaires fly around rockets on the weekend with their friends in them into space for fun because they have so much money. They buy our ranches for fun because they have so much money and lock them up. They influence our politics for fun because they have so much money. Dude, I'm done with that shit.
Yeah, income inequality is a major issue. Have you heard of that book, The Great Leveler?
I've heard of it, but I've not read it.
Oh, this guy, he was an academic, and his thesis was that if you're living in a time of high income inequality, and you're not rich, sure, that's kind of a bummer, but the alternative is you're living in a time of high income equality, and you've either just gone through a pandemic a natural disaster, a war, or I can't remember what the fourth one was. But that like it's disaster that levels inequality. And so you're
Well,
like,
let me pose this to you. If you would ask most people what MAGA means, make America great again, like the key word there is again, most people would say like, dude, the 1950s, like, come on, like the women were hot, they wore short skirts, there were cool cars, everybody was making lots of money. Um, there weren't all these people we disagree with. Like the economy was booming, right? That's like 1950s are like the again part of make America great again. Do
that's
you know
what
what
we're
the
striving for. That's what a MAGA person is striving for. Is
I think so.
19,
Like if you
okay.
ask most of them, that's what they are. So do you know what the top marginal income tax rate under Republican presidents was during the 1950s? 91%.
What?
91%.
91% of their income went for taxes?
Top marginal income tax rate. So marginal tax rates are, as you make your first 50,000, you're taxed at this rate, then the next you're
Okay.
taxed at this rate.
Okay.
But the top marginal income tax rate was 91%.
What income did you have?
I don't
What
remember
income
what
did
it
you
is.
have? Okay.
It's the equivalent of like a millionaire now, right?
Okay.
I think it was three or
Anything
four
in
hundred thousand.
excess of $1 million, you'd pay
Right.
91%
Right.
or something.
And because we had this idea that building a broad supportive society was the way for everybody to profit. And you know what? Turned out okay. Like we built the interstate highway system. We essentially imported peace and prosperity across the globe. We rebuilt Europe. Everybody flourished. And now MAGA wants to go back to 1950. And I remind you, the top marginal income tax rate was 91%.
So where they want the greatness, but they don't want to institute the policies that generated the greatness.
Bingo.
Okay. Now you live, I would say, a pretty nice upper middle class lifestyle. Do you think if you made more money, you'd be happier?
No.
I don't either. I'm 54.
I'm 55, so you and I are same.
Yes, I half feel like I could retire now. I wouldn't have much money at all, but I don't feel like I feel like I could take a 30-40% hit in my income and still be equally happy.
There's only there are times when you feel angsty about money. I've never been a money driven person. Like I wasn't born with money. I grew up on a ranch. I graduated with 16 kids. I drove a ranch truck to work every day. I never had money. I've not inherited any money. I was lucky enough to move to Montana when you could buy a house here before you had to be like a bajillionaire. Sarah and I, we don't just joke, like we comment, like I don't, like if we tried to move to Montana today as 20 something kids, we couldn't do it. Like I don't know how you do it.
Yeah.
There are times when I feel stressed about money, but I don't feel driven by money. And I don't think, I guess, and the reason I feel that way is because maybe, back to the original thing we were talking about, we live in a place where like I can go 12 miles from here and float a river with my kids tomorrow. Like I don't have to pay $500 and I don't have to be a prince.
Yeah, that's a form of wealth in itself, is that you have stuff around you can do that doesn't cost much.
Right.
That you enjoy.
Like that's a huge deal. Like
it's huge.
I bird hunt a lot and I hunt blue grouse a lot. I can do that within 10 miles of my house. Like
I went to this little pond last night with a friend of mine and caught a bunch of monster bluegills on the beds.
Yeah.
And it's like there was not a happier person than me watching my bobber go down,
Yeah.
And it cost me, I don't know, $20 in gas.
But that's kind of a priceless thing, right? And so if I think people who get driven by money aren't in places or scenarios like you and I. Like I I can go fishing tomorrow, float a river or hike a river, whatever. Like it's a $10,000 value day, and I'll pay nothing for it.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's a cool thing.
All right, back to public land warriors. As you elaborate, go ahead and elaborate. But what I want to ask at some point is how this relates to American hunters and anglers. Lantani's new group, which seems to have a similar kind of mission.
Yeah. So Land's a good friend. So we are spending every money we have. We launched our first ad against Zinke. We're going to, our idea is we have no staff. I mean, virtually no staff. We're not really staff. It's me and Brandon and another guy, Michael, who's helping us. And we don't have all this overhead shit. We take everything that
You're getting some donations?
Oh yeah, huge.
Oh, okay.
Unbelievable. Like
Okay.
we dropped an ad today. It's been amazing after just a few weeks. My belief was that there's a lot of people in the country.
Where's the ad air?
It's across, and I should ask Brandon because he's a digital ad guy, but so it's going to be across social media platforms and I think on Hulu TV. That's where it's starting. And we're picking 5 or 6 other key House districts across the country where we're doing the same kind of thing, because I believe that influencing elections is the way to influence this policy. So, and we have to put the hammer on the people who are in office who are doing, disastrous policy things.
That seems logical to me. Like making noise about politicians that are warm on getting rid of public lands seems like a very smart
So
move.
we're doing that. Gabe Evans in Colorado, Derek Van Orden, Wisconsin 3. Like I could go on. There's 5 districts I don't remember them all, but we're going square at these people.
Oh, so these are the top sell it off folks?
Yeah, top sell it off and most vulnerable incumbents who are voting yes on this shit.
Okay.
They're the elections that we can influence the fastest. And because I think this is a knife fight. Again, the old like polite policy groups and frankly the Democratic Party is just fucking feckless on this. Like they can't fight these battles. They think they swoop in the last 5 minutes of an election and they spend a bunch of money and try to get people elected. That's not the way elections are won anymore.
I don't see politics of old as congenial. This is an interesting
I think it was much more congenial than it is now.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Have you ever read David McCullough's biography of John Adams?
I have, and they were nasty.
Holy shit. You want to talk about some lack of congeniality.
Oh, no. He and Jefferson were like ready to punch each other every 5 minutes.
Yeah. Oh, and there were multiple revolts amongst the farmers. It's like, it seemed like the country was getting ripped apart about the time of its founding. Yeah,
it was. What I believe now are the things that we care about, the institutions that we built, the 501c3 orgs, the orgs that I belong to and believe in. They're built for a much more polite time. The analogy I like,
now I can see that. Where
the analogy I like to use is like those people are playing like peach basketball in the 1920s, and the Republicans are like they got LeBron.
What's that? Peach.
Well, it's like that when basketball was first invented. You got the like old guys in these weird shorts walking up and down the court, but the Republicans are playing like isolation offense with LeBron, and man, they're slamming and jamming.
You're saying that the people need to be on the left and the nonprofits need to be more hard hitting.
Absolutely,
and I think you're right about that.
Absolutely, but not like, and we are getting our lunch eaten.
Yeah,
absolutely getting our lunch eaten. Why? Because we're living in an old world with old rules, and I don't give a shit about that old world and old rules. I care about where we are now. I care about losing access now. I care about these people who are trying to sell off public lands now and degrade and gut the boundary waters now, like Zinke is, and kill NEPA, National Environmental Policy Act now, and your right to protest sage grouse, decimation now. I care about that now. And so I want to fight now, not this battle of 50 years ago, not about how many polite cocktail parties I have, not about how big my budget is or how big the staff is. How 99% of policy is decided on a Tuesday in November. And we better frickin' fight like that or we're going to lose.
Okay. So, you're running an ad. You're making
We're taking
people.
our money directly to the people who need to be influenced with nothing in between. So Zinke's first, and there's 5 or 6 more congressional districts to follow. And the more money we raise, the more districts we target, and the more ads we run.
It's pretty wild that there's going to be a bunch of elections in a year and a half already.
2026, yeah. I think it's going to be everybody says it's the biggest election in the history of the country. But
oh, really?
No, everybody says that about every election.
Sure.
But I think 2026 is truly
pivotal.
That. And I think because if we do not control the sort of destruction that's coming out of the White House and the Republican Party, we got a long road to hoe, brother.
And what you're referring to there, in part, is environmental protections and public lands. I'm sure you have opinions on.
Yeah, and I think wealth,
immigration,
wealth disparity. Well, the one thing I will say, I think Democrats totally foobarred. I think Biden administration totally foobarred immigration enforcement, immigration policy, and frankly, I think the whole Trump phenomenon is built on correcting immigration, and it should have been corrected. And I think Democrats. This is my stance. I think that we need to. We can't have a country where we have an essentially chaotic, lawless border, and it was pretty damn close to that in the Biden administration.
Oh,
I think that was
man.
a travesty.
If the left could just get over this idea that it's the same kind of thing with hunting. If you just let if the more people, the less quality. That and the DEI shit, they would have done a hell of a lot better.
Yeah. Yeah. So I want to focus on the things that matter to people, and that's what we're going to do. So I'm proud of that public lands warrior thing we're doing.
Okay.
Yeah,
so I still haven't let you speak long enough to determine exactly what that is. So lay it out systematically.
It's a nonprofit 501c4 organization that is built to influence politics, and we are built to do it very efficiently without all the extemporaneous overhead that lots of other nonprofits have. We want to influence elections and influence policy by pushing politicians to do the right thing. And I believe it needs to be very efficient. And I think every penny we raise is going right to influencing politicians and policy. There's no other. We don't have any weight. Like there's nothing else for us to do. That's it. That's what we're doing. And I think it's a cultural knife fight that we're in, and we need to be like sharpening the knives and swinging them.
Is it conceivable that you'd end up supporting a Republican?
It's conceivable. Yeah. I mean, I don't think in this current MAGA environment with you have the cohesiveness of the Republican Party, but it's conceivable.
Yeah, it'd have to be that there was somebody on the person on the Democrat had a sell it off mentality, and the person on the right. If you read that book, I have not, by what's that guy that has that New York Times podcast?
Abundance.
Yeah, Abundance.
Ezra Klein.
Yeah, Ezra Klein. Mm-hmm. It seems like he's kind of warm to selling off some public land, so you could see where maybe it would happen. Like he thinks that the high cost of housing in blue states is a problem.
Well, it is a problem, but
they don't have places to build.
I'm totally lukewarm on, I'm a big Ezra Klein fan. I think he's a very smart guy. I think his abundance thing is kind of half-baked.
Oh, really?
I'm just going to give you one. So he starts off with the idea that we have too little, and these things are keeping us from getting it. I'm just going to give you one factor that'll kind of poke a hole in that. 30, 40 years ago, we had virtually, I think it was there's a few 100,000, quote unquote, extra bedrooms in the country. Okay. Maybe it was 1 million. The last figure I saw, we have 7.1 extra bedrooms in the country.
Oh,
Okay.
and
7.1
what
million.
the definition of an extra bedroom is one that.
So you build a house that's
okay.
bigger than you need. You have a guest bedroom. You have, in other words, I think we have abundance. This idea that we don't have enough is kind of foolhardy. I think our country has plenty. It's just not distributed.
It's just that we don't let strangers sleep in our house.
I mean, but like, I mean, it's easy to jest about that, right? But like, if you build houses that are like, you bitch about that you can't build enough houses, but you celebrate people who build houses that are too big and suck up all the land. I'm kind of like, Ezra, dude, it's not that we don't have abundance. We got lots of abundance. We already have lots of abundance. We just have already distributed it to people who don't need it, because extra bedrooms by their nature are extra.
Right. Yeah. I'm with you. I am with you that there's a limit to what people need. Well, there's like survey data on it that like something like, you're probably more familiar with this than I, but anything over $200,000 a year doesn't increase your happiness.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's like 100. Like the ultimate happy person in America is like $174,000 or something. Like you tell you can buy happiness up to $174,000, and then like you can't get any happy.
Yeah. So if I was to tell my friend what Public Land Warriors was, I would describe it as an information campaign. Like, you're trying to make the voter aware of the candidates' stances on issues that are relevant to them.
Yeah, and to influence policy stances based on fear of winning elections or not. Yes.
Okay. So
right, I want to, like, if we were attacking Steve Daines, I'd want him to make the right decisions on public lands, or to let him know that he's going to get unelected because.
Okay. He just sponsored some legislation that would make VPA HIP permanent.
I saw it. Yeah, I saw it.
What do you think of that? VPA HIP, ladies and gentlemen, is voluntary public access habitat improvement program. It's part of the Farm Bill, and it incentivizes landowners to allow some public access and do.
So habitat. I'm all for that, but in this big beautiful bill bullshit, you look at it, it's going to over a few years, just, this is kind of related to it, but CRP will be gutted. It'll be gone within 5 or 6 years. It'll be gone. So it's easy for people like Daines to say, yeah, I'm going to make it permanent. I just won't fund it. Like, the quiet part is, I just won't fund it.
So a lot of that money has nothing to do with CRP.
I know it doesn't, but my point is, like, there's nothing that's been better for wildlife across the Great Plains in my lifetime than CRP.
Yeah, absolutely. Nothing. I work on that program.
And they're going to defund CRP in this big beautiful bill. It'll be gone in 5 to 7 years. It'll be gone.
Oh,
and so when he talks about, like, we're going to make this other thing permanent, I'm like, dude, don't give me that bullshit. You're going to defund CRP. These other little ancillary things that you put on that are good. If you're going to defund CRP, don't talk to me.
Okay. Yeah. I work on CRP.
Yeah.
Hey
man, I got to run.
Oh, you do? Just that abruptly?
Sorry, but my kid just walked in from work, and he's working down at Juan's ranch.
I knew that.
He's here for his day off, so I got to go have dinner with him.
Oh, all right. Doggone it. I had 3 or 4 more insightful questions for you, but you're an important fellow. That's all I get.
Sorry, man. Sorry.
Well, it was nice chatting with you.
Yeah, man, it's good to see you. Let's get together and have a cocktail and go fishing or something sometime. I'd love to catch some bluegill with you.
Yeah, I was texting with your wife, and we were saying I think we both agreed that the next potential time for us to intersect is going to be the holidays. So let's try to make that. Yeah.
Let's do it.
Thanks, Ryan. Best.
All right, man. Take care. Have a good night.
Public Land Warriors. Where do people find? You got a website or anything, or just
publiclandwarriors.com, baby. Go find it.
All right. Good night.
Okay. Thanks, man. Bye.